Very good morning, dear students. Welcome back for yet another class. And today I'll be taking a new chapter for class 10, and that is water resources. I hope you have completed your previous assignments. Many of you have submitted your assignments in the teachment as well as in the WhatsApp, and there are some who have not done yet at all. Please make sure you do your lessons. Okay, so today I'm going to start a new chapter that is water resources. Now, life is possible on the earth because of the presence of water. Water has played such a very important role in all our lives, in the lives of the animals, in the life of plants, and all the vegetation that is there on this earth. Three-fourths of the earth's surface is covered with water, and we know that 70% of the human body is comprised of water. Water is also present in the plants and animals as well. And water has played such a significant role in all our lives. The very existence of human beings or life on earth is because of the presence of water. And that is the reason why, since water is present in such huge abundance, three-fourths of the earth's surface being covered with water, the earth is also called as the watery planet. Now, the rainwater, the ocean waters, the lakes, the ponds, the streams, the rivers are natural source of water. They are the natural source of water. The rain, the oceans water, the sea water, the river water, the stream water, the water that is there in the ponds are natural source of water. But we also have man-made source of water where the water is stored by human beings in the tanks, in the ponds, sorry, in the tanks, then in the reservoirs. Then water is also stored in the underground in the form of wells. Water is extracted with the help of tube wells, see, hand pumps, and so on, which are the man-made source of water. Now, water is present on the earth in two forms. One is the surface water, and then the other one is the underground water resource. Now, what is surface water resource? The water that is present on the surface of the earth, for instance, the water that is there in the oceans, the lakes, the sea, the ponds, see, the river waters, all these that are there which we see on the earth's surface are called as surface water. That means water which is there on the surface. Then we also have water that is there which is present in the uh, interior of the earth, which is called as the underground water resource. The water that is collected inside the earth's surface with the help of the impervious rock that does not allow the water to go further inside. So when the rainwater falls, the water will fall on the earth's surface, and then water goes into the earth's surface through the cracks and crevices. Then the water is collected inside the earth's surface in the area where we have impervious rock, the rock which does not allow the water to go further inside. There the water is stored. And this stored water is called as underground water resources. Sometimes because of the pressure, the water is pushed up, whereby the water comes out onto the surface of the earth in the form of springs. Now, why do we need to conserve water? We need to conserve water because of various reasons. The first one is because of the over exploitation of the underground water. Over exploitation of the underground water, which results to the lowering of the water table. And that is one of the reasons why we need to conserve water. Number two is India being an agricultural country, we depend a lot on the water supply. And since our country experiences rainfall for only 4 months, from the month of June, July, August, and September, for these 4 months, we have rainfall. That means we have summer seasons where we experience heavy rainfall. And the reason why we have this rainfall is because of the southwest monsoon winds which blow from the Indian Ocean and bring rainfall to our land, to our country during the month of June, July, August, and September. But then what happens is the remaining months we don't have much rainfall. And that is one of the reasons why we need to conserve water so that the water can be used in the drier seasons. That is the second reason. See, then the excessive irrigation to meet excessive population demands depletes 90% of the freshwater content of the earth. See? Excessive irrigation to meet excessive population demands depletes more than 90% of the fresh water, because of which we need to conserve water again. See, industries utilize huge amount of water and also pollute the surface water as well. So thus, conservation of water is very essential. Industries require heavily, they require heavy amount of water. Industries, factories, all the manufacturing units. Afforestation is one of the very good ways to increase the water in the atmosphere. If you plant more and more trees, then what happens is we have this process of transpiration taking place whereby the water goes into the atmosphere, whereby and ultimately the water comes down to our earth in the form of rain water. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, that is rainwater harvesting and its importance. Now, what is rainwater harvesting? Now, rainwater harvesting is basically collecting rainwater and storing them in the tanks, whereby the water that is stored in the tanks could be used in the drier season. You can just have a look at the small diagram here, rainwater harvesting. So when the rain falls down, the water will roll down the roofs of the houses, and this water can be diverted into a pipe, and this water that goes through the pipes could be stored in the tanks, which could be used for agriculture. It could be also used for the household purpose, household chores, washing, bathing, watering the garden, see, car washing, and different activities that require water. So the rainwater harvesting is a very effective way to conserve water, whereby the water could be used in the dry season. Now, this has been an age-old practice by our ancestors. They have been storing water, which whereby the water was used in the dry season. Now, the rainwater is very important because it could be used, number one, during the dry seasons. See, number two is the rainwater which flows into the drains without any use could be used for mankind purpose by applying this method. Otherwise, generally, if the rainwater falls down, if generally the rainwater falls down, and this rainwater that falls down basically just goes off into the what do you say drains, and ultimately it is of no use. So because of which what happens is the resource is wasted. So if we collect the rainwater properly, then this rainwater could be used in the dry season, and whereby we could have a very effective way of utilizing water. It also meets the population demand of the people around the country. The industries also can utilize this water for various purpose. See? Then excessive use of underground water results in falling of the water table. So by rainwater harvesting, the water table can also be maintained. So when we uh, collect water through this rainwater harvesting, then the underground water table also can be maintained. Otherwise, there is excessive use of the underground water resource as well. Okay, then it also improves the quality of the groundwater by diluting salinity, and it provides drinking water when all our other sources have dried up. So these are the ways in which rainwater harvesting has played such an important role. Now, let's go to the storing mechanism. We have different storing mechanism that stores water. One is the traditional method, which was practiced by our ancestors, And then the other one is a modern method where we store water for our various uses. The first one, let's discuss the traditional methods. Now, there are various ways in which water is stored traditionally. For instance, if you see one we have in the Thar Desert, or we can say the Thar Desert we have is the Kunz of Thar Desert. The Kunz of Thar Desert is one of the ways where we can store rainwater harvesting. Okay, then we have another one that is the this is the one, the Kunz of Thar Desert. The water is stored here, and this water is utilized during the drier season. Then we have the other one that is the bamboo drip irrigation method, cutting the bamboo into two and then utilizing this to divert the water to the fields or wherever the water is required. So this is mainly practiced in the northeast region. Even in Sikkim also, we have been practicing it in the past. Even now, if you go to some of the remote areas, they still do this, uh, collecting water through this bamboo and then utilizing it for agriculture or also for domestic purpose as well. So this is another way, which is called as the bamboo drip irrigation method. Okay, then we also have, for instance, Jodas is another way in which we can, what to say, collect water. See, making a wall around across the river, and this water that is stored behind this wall will be utilized, could be utilized for agricultural purpose. So these are some of the uh, traditional methods of storing rainwater, whereby this water that is stored behind behind this wall, or whether it's stored in the tanks, whatever it is, could be utilized in the drier season. Then we also have the modern methods. There are various other methods. I'm just giving one or two only. Now we also have modern methods of rainwater harvesting. Like for instance, if you see the what to say, pit recharge. Pit recharge is one of the ways in which we collect water. That means we make a big pit. That means pits are dug in the ground, and whereby water is collected in that pit, and this water will be utilized in the dry season. We even can collect water with the help of constructing a trench. See, that means deep trenches are dug in the ground, constructed, whereby the water will be utilized in the dry season. See, construction of pits, construction of trenches, filtration tank is another way, dug wells. See, ferrous cement tank, type of storage made of simple materials, whereby the water will be utilized for various purposes, mainly for agriculture in the dry season. So these are some of the modern methods of rainwater harvesting. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. That is, what is irrigation now? What is irrigation? Irrigation, if you see, in a very, very simple terms, before I go to this, what is irrigation? Now, if you see that, see, man became civilized only when he learned to cultivate plants for food. Men became civilized only when they started to cultivate plants for food. Prior to that, they were hunter gatherers. They would roam in the forest, jungle, collecting fruits, berries, plants, eating the flesh of animals and surviving and moving from place to place. It was only when they started to cultivate the land that they started to stay in one place, whereby building a society as well, a settlement as well. So, after we started practicing cultivation, then man became more civilized, more social. So, India also being an agricultural country, we know that India is heavily dependent on agriculture, directly and indirectly. So many people are dependent on the livelihood in this sector. And because India is an agricultural country, we depend a lot on the rainfall. Now, as I just discussed, the rainfall will not be there throughout the year. Just for a couple of months, June, July, August, and September are the months where we have excessive rainfall. After that, then we start to experience less rainfall. So whatever water that is stored in the tanks, in the reservoirs, See, behind dams, behind Jodas, all that water then will be utilized for agriculture in the drier season. So, what is irrigation? What is irrigation? Irrigation is basically utilizing artificial supply of water to the land. Irrigation is the artificial supply of water to the land. Now let's see some of the next aspects. Why do we need irrigation? What is the need for irrigation? Irrigation is very, very essential for us because of various reasons. The first one is we have seasonal rainfall. See, India being a country where we experience what is it? Seasonal rainfall. That means we have rainfall from June, July, August, and September, because of which the rainfall is seasonal. And for the rest of the time, we have no rainfall or very less rainfall. So the only way we can cultivate a land is through the help of irrigation. So irrigation is very essential because we have seasonal rainfall. Number two is uncertain rainfall. See, India has very uncertain rainfall. We don't have rainfall uh, every time at the same time for the same duration. See, the rainfall is uncertain. Sometimes it comes in very early, sometimes the monsoon comes very late. So, because of which, what happens is there's a lot of difficulties for the farmers as well. So, uncertain rainfall is another reason why we need to depend heavily on irrigation. If the rainfall comes very late, then what happens? We can adopt the method of irrigation whereby we can start uh, applying water to the fields and start cultivation in time. So, that is why irrigation is so very important. And then storing of water is so very essential. Then uneven distribution of rainfall. The rainfall in a country is also not evenly distributed. Sometimes the rainfall is, in some areas, the rainfall is very high, more than 200 centimeters of rainfall. But again, there are areas where the rainfall is between 25 to 50 centimeters of rainfall. And some areas, the rainfall is very, very less. So uneven distribution of rainfall is also another reason why we need to depend so much on irrigation. Number four is erratic rainfall. See, the rainfall received varies from year to year. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. See, it's quite erratic and unreliable, causing drought or famines or floods. Sometimes there's excessive rainfall because of which there's flooding. Sometimes there's such a lot of less rainfall because of which famines take place. See, cultivation of certain crops like rice and sugarcane requires timely rainfall, a lot of rainfall. And then what happens? The only way we can assess this is with the help of irrigation facilities. Then India being a hot country, what happens is we experience quite a high temperature. So the rate of evaporation is also very high. So artificial supply of water to the fields is very, very important. And then the last point we have here is Green Revolution program. See, we were having a lot of difficulties in feeding our population because the population of our country was so high. The production was so less. We had to import food grains from other countries. But then after we adopted the Green Revolution program, what happens? The crops increase substantially very high. There was a huge increase in the crops production in our country. And that was because of the Green Revolution. Now, in the Green Revolution, what happened is they changed the entire mode of the way of practice of agriculture. They even use better quality seeds, hybrid seeds. They use fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides. Machines were used, whereby the production was higher. Now, what happened is because of the use of insecticides, fertilizers, pesticides into the fields, there was a huge demand of water. The more chemicals you use, the greater application of water is required into the fields. So that is why, because of this green revolution, also what happened is there was a huge requirement of water into the fields because of the high use of fertilizers. No doubt, the production increased heavily, but then there was a huge application of fertilizers to the field. And then what happened? The best way to balance that was with the application of a sufficient amount of water into the fields. So, so the Green Revolution program is introduced in many parts of our country where fertilizers are used in large quantity. But the use of fertilizers can be effective if irrigation water is available regularly. So water is very, very essential for the what to say the program to be very successful, for the Green Revolution program to be very successful. So these are the reasons why we need irrigation in our country. Now, irrigation potential in our country. Why is irrigation possible in our country? What are the reasons why irrigation is very, very much possible in our country? If you see, the first one, why irrigation is possible in our country, is perennial rainfall. Our country has perennial rainfall. We have sufficient amount of water in the rivers because of the snow-capped mountains, and these waters provide sufficient amount of water to the fields in the lower regions. So because of the perennial water, irrigation is possible in our country. Number two is low level land. If you go to the northern areas, northern lowlands, Ganga, Brahmaputra area, northern lowlands, what happens? The area is very low level land is there, made up of soft alluvium. And these alluvium, since are very soft, these lands which are very soft, makes it very easy for the construction of canals to divert the water from the rivers into the fields, whereby irrigation becomes possible in our country. So that's number two, low level lands and soft mud that is present there in this region, which makes construction of canals very easy. Then reservoir of groundwater. See, due to the heavy monsoon's rainfall, there is a huge reservoir of groundwater. Wells can be dug at a small depth to provide water as well. So there's plenty of reservoir of groundwater because of the huge rainfall that we receive during the monsoon times. A lot of water is collected under the ground, and this underground water which has been collected can be used for irrigation, used for agriculture, and which is possible through the irrigation methods. Then sites for construction of dams. If you see, because of the uneven terrain of our land in the northern India, especially if you see the uneven terrain and the peninsular region as well, because of the uneven terrain, what happens? It provides a very good congenial environment for the construction of dams. Construction of dams. So tank irrigation is also possible in peninsular India due to the presence of natural hollows. So because of the uneven surface in the northern plains and in peninsular region, construction of dams become very easy, and therefore the water that is stored behind the dams can be used for agriculture, and that will be possible with the help of the irrigation methods. And then the tank irrigation is also possible in the peninsular region due to the presence of natural hollows. Now let's go a little bit further and see the means of irrigation. What are the different types of irrigation? The different types of irrigation that we have here are canals, tanks, and wells. So the different types of irrigation methods that we have here are canals, tanks, and wells. So we can see canals are of two types. We have one that is inundation canal, and perennial canal. Then we have tanks, and then wells also we have two categories here: surface or subsurface well, and the other one is tube well. So this portion of the lesson, dear students, I will cover it in the next class. So till then, take care, do study at home, and please complete your assignments that are given to you as well. So till then, thank you all. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and do your studies regularly. Thank you so much.